Welcome everybody to episode 161.
More like 161.
Oh, that's terrible.
You're the one that threw this background together.
Yeah, for those of you interested in the background today, when I was in Beijing very late 2018, I filmed in the Sanlitun area. Now, Sanlitun is the fancy area of Beijing. That's where foreigners all go. Foreigners that live in the city, they go there and they think that's what China is like.
That's
but
right.
It's all like flashy shops, Apple stores, and, you know,
It's
at night.
not really China.
No, not at all. At night, they have these bars in the Sanlitun area, which have like open windows to the street. And I was kind of shocked to see this because, you know, in China, pornography is completely banned. And it's supposed...
So is this.
I mean, yes, but it's supposedly like a pure society, you know?
Yeah.
It's completely opposite. I've never seen so much prostitution out in the open and, you know, that kind of thing. But on paper, by law, you know, it's all illegal. It's not supposed to be happening. There's no lewd acts allowed, all that kind of nonsense, right?
But things are changing really, really quick. So in our main topic today, we're going to be talking about what China is doing, or at least theorizing, to deal with a current problem. And I just want people to always know that when we're talking about the Chinese government, there's this fantasy around that they have this long plan and they always deal with the problems, you know, 25 years ahead of time. Sure. And the West is just so, you know, short-sighted. While China, they're playing the long game,
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite. China has knee-jerk reactions, and they wait for a problem to boil over to the point where it's out of control. And now they finally realize that, holy crap, this demographic crisis, the fact that our population in a century is basically going to be halved, before we even reach middle income status, right? So much worse off than Japan's whole demographic crisis.
Yeah.
We are not even going to get to a point where we can sustain ourselves anymore. They finally realize we better do something about this from a legal perspective. And of course, you can always guarantee them to be over heavy-handed and unbelievably authoritarian in their approach. And it's almost comical what they're coming up with. So we're going to be covering that in the main episode. I'm still thinking about that freaking animal we just saw.
Oh, yeah, there's this weird, I don't even know how to explain it, but outside the window.
I grew up in this area almost my whole life. We're a little bit south of there, but there is this animal outside, and you managed to get a quick clip. Maybe we can post it on the subreddit or something. But it looks like, not a groundhog,
like
it looks like a little badger or something, but I've never seen anything like it. It's so weird. It's this furry-ass thing running around in the grass.
Yeah, we'll post it on the subreddit
Maybe
later.
You guys know. Anyway, that's completely besides the point. We have a lot of things to cover today, and we might as well just get into it, right?
Yeah, we will. We'll saunter right into it. I just wanted to quickly finish with the background. So when I was there, and I saw this in this very popular area, and you have to understand that certain parts of China, certain things are allowed. Like in Beijing and Shanghai, things are allowed there that you can't have anywhere else. Like
they wouldn't be allowed elsewhere.
Things like being able to get a motorcycle, like a Harley Davidson or something. You can actually...
privileged.
Yeah, it's a privileged area. You can get them and you're allowed to ride them around in that city. But you can't do that in another city like Shenzhen. It's banned and you can't do it, right?
I have a little thing involved there. Right now, to get a motorcycle license plate, so just to register your motorcycle in Shanghai, it costs about... At the bare minimum, $60,000 US.
$60,000
all the way up to $100,000 US just for the registration.
Yeah,
US dollars, not
that's
RMB.
How they get you. That's how they get you. Anyway, so I was kind of shocked to see on display these pole dancers in just out there on the street. So that's why I whipped out my camera and filmed it. I must have looked like quite the pervert, I must tell you.
Yeah, that is what it is.
But actually, while I was filming them, I was solicited by a bunch of pimps, one after the other, coming to try and sell me prostitutes. But hey, you know, that's China. That's Beijing, capital city. You know, that's what happens in the same place where the CCP reigns.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned, the Wumao are going to report this because of the background or whatever. So you got to be careful. There's no nudity.
Don't worry.
And this is considered exercise.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking.
Yeah, no,
like,
that's how they get away with it.
In China,
like,
they say it's exercise.
Exercise, yeah.
It's not a joke.
Yeah.
They have like programs and like schools to learn this, and they're like, it's just for exercise.
Just for exercise, yeah.
Just working out.
Working out. Oh yeah. Let's saunter right into it. We've got a lot to carry to get over today. So let's start out with what's new. This is where we tell you what's new, specifically with regards to China. And let me just bring up our media pack here in the background. And we're going to start with something that's maybe just a little bit not so cool. Okay.
A little. Yeah.
Can you explain what this bridge is?
So this is the undersea bridge in Dalian, which is in northern China. And basically it goes under this Bohai Sea, this area in Dalian, to connect the two parts of the city. So you drive your cars into it, you go into the ocean, very impressive feat of whatever infrastructure, right? And China's been bragging about it for years now, and finally, like 3 days ago, I believe they opened it, right?
Yeah, so it's like, only just opened, brand new, just opened.
So why don't we see what happened?
Yeah, I'll get us out of here. So this is what happened when it opened, if you could take a look.
I think if you're going under the ocean with like billions of pounds of pressure, right? You probably don't want to see the tunnel leaking and flooding. It's not just a little leak. It started flooding.
Yeah, they can't hear the audio of it, by the way.
Oh, they don't need to hear the audio. There's no need.
Let's see if I can change the settings so you guys can. All right.
Anyway, it's flooding. And you don't want to see a tunnel under the ocean flooding.
No.
I think that is devastating. And you know, the wound is a little fresh because just not that long ago in Zhengzhou, a tunnel flooded. And
that was devastating.
We calculated at least hundreds of people would have died
the minimum,
because they were inside of it when it flooded. And China reported like a dozen or something.
And then they removed, when people were trying to put memorials, flowers for their dead loved ones, they barricaded it so people couldn't see them. And then
they didn't want to see how many people there were. Yeah.
It was terrible because the flood drainage system in the city wasn't very good.
Yes.
And so they had this 4.5 kilometer long tunnel that was just full of cars, jam-packed, because the other side had been blocked. So it was actually 4.5 kilometers of standstill cars. And then the entire tunnel filled up to the roof with water in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's impossible, if you were anywhere near the middle, to travel either way, 2 kilometers plus on foot in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So hundreds, potentially thousands of people died because it was a big, both lanes, both sides block type situation. Anyway, absolutely, when it comes to this kind of thing, I'm not surprised to see this, to be honest, because shortcuts are always taken. Always, when it comes to construction.
Good thing people can see it.
Well, I mean, they did see it. I'll put it up there again. But to be driving under the ocean and to see water pouring from the ceiling is absolutely not what you want.
You know what the dumbest thing is?
What's that?
Is that there's such a simple solution to this, and that's flex tape. I could easily take care of this.
You think so? I mean, look, you can actually see the water pouring in from the ceiling. Now, apparently the local authorities are like, oh, it's just some burst pipes or something. Okay.
Okay.
Even if it's burst pipes, it's in the first couple of days of operation and pipes are bursting. It just shows you that it's garbage.
Yeah, wait. How does that make it any less bad?
Yeah, it just means it's garbage construction.
It's still under pressure and bursting stuff.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Yeah,
the tunnel?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want to take that tunnel.
No. I mean, if you've seen how many bridges collapse in China, this is what I'm going to say. If China comes to your country and starts knocking on your door like an Amway salesman trying to sell you infrastructure projects or a bridge or a tunnel, politely turn them down. Yeah. Because this is what you're going to end up with.
Exactly.
In fact, we're going to be talking about a lot of these countries that are in debt to China and are actually falling apart right now because of their debts to China. And some of them involve infrastructure projects like this.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Anyway.
So what is this meme you've got in the background here?
This is going around in the whole like pro-authoritarian, pro-CCP sphere. And it's another attempt to try to make America and the West look bad, but they just keep making America look awesome.
Sure.
What does it say?
It says, "We are strong because we know suffering, while those American pigs stuff their fat faces and spoil themselves with food and laughter, making them weak and unprepared for war."
All I see is some Chads broing out over dinner, having an absolute ball of a time, absolutely ripped, ready to go to war.
I know, really.
These are both, they use AI because they're too lazy to make art.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just sad.
Yeah, it makes America look strong and makes them look weak. It's the opposite of what they try to do.
Yes.
Honestly,
every race of every nationality comes together and fights under one flag, and that is America, the flag of freedom. And then all these other guys are like, they're basically what I see on the left is underfunded soldiers dying in the snow. Yeah, that's what I see.
Like an attempt of Mount Everest in the 1920s or something is what I see on the left there. Anyway,
I wouldn't call those guys fat, by the way.
no,
it's 0% body fat.
So anyway, when you go to a restaurant in China, if you go to specifically down south, it's all over, but specifically like
you get it. No, it's
everywhere. When you go to a restaurant, in order to they do this thing to prove that their dishes are clean, and they haven't been tampered with.
Had cockroaches in mind before.
Yeah, it's vacuum sealed in plastic wrap. Okay, as you can see, this is an example of it up here. And it's quite common. You go to a restaurant, you hear a lot of popping because people pop it open with their chopsticks,
tradition.
tear it apart.
We're going to eat.
Yeah, and then like rinse it in tea.
Love it.
And the fact that they rinse it in tea as well is a kind of a signal that it's probably not clean.
Yeah.
Here's some proof, because this is just a clip, and of course this is not everywhere, but it happens.
Yeah. Obviously, people took video of this because they were like, "Wait, this is what you're doing."
So you see, it looks like a landfill or something over there, but that's actually just.
Washing.
Yeah, it's where they wash the dishes
before they wrap them.
Yeah, before they take them to be wrapped. Let's take a look.
And I'm not talking about the music genre.
No. Anyway, just a little quick one there. Now, we have been talking about Lianhua Qingwen capsules for a long time. For those of you who have no idea what I've just said, the Chinese government made a massive push.
Can you put it, if you scroll into one of the videos, there's a picture of a box of them. Just leave that up while we discuss it.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be important
for
context.
There we go.
Yeah, sure.
Lianhua Qingwen capsules.
There you go.
So the Chinese government made this big push. When the pandemic first broke out,
yes,
they were like, we can defeat this with TCM.
Traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah, traditional Chinese medicine. And they picked this company. Well, actually, a government-connected person who has a massive stake in this company.
It's a state company.
Yeah. Pushed this, Lianhua Qingwen. And it was actually, when they were giving out these relief packages to people that were trapped in their apartments.
And starving.
Yeah, they were literally starving in places like Shanghai for like more than a month, 2 months in their apartment. They were supposed to be getting relief packages from the government, like food. But quite often, all that would turn up would be boxes of this stuff.
If I got a relief package, I'd want to open it up and be like, finally
relief.
I got what I need. It's relief. And I opened this up, I'm like, shit!
Yeah, exactly. It's a stress package. Yeah.
Stress package.
So anyway, you would get this stuff. So people were doing all sorts of things online, making funny jokes about smoking it and using it for all sorts of things, making soup out of it.
Because it's useless.
Yeah, it's absolutely useless. What it is it's got, what has it got in it again? Like pseudoephedrine? Ephedra? Okay.
So it was kind of banned for medicinal use in the U.S. It could be sold as like a supplement, but it can't be sold as like medicine.
Basically, all it can do is help treat the symptoms of a cold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very mildly.
Yeah. But it was being pushed by the Chinese government and being pushed by the company that makes it, of course, and being pushed by a bunch of shills as an actual cure for COVID.
They were saying it was a cure.
They were like, this can treat COVID.
Yeah.
And so they
over
were
90%.
Yeah, over 90% efficiency, whatever. They were really going on this whole thing to try and push this Chinese medicine as a cure. Of course, it's not. It's garbage. It's literally cold medicine.
Yeah.
At the very best. It's
like
mild.
bad cold medicine.
It's bad cold medicine. So anyway,
in my opinion,
the company obviously reveled in the fact that it was getting billions and billions of dollars worth of contracts through the government, and they made these advertising campaigns to try and appeal to like Western markets.
Well, yeah, because not just Western markets, everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Mostly developing markets, to be
Yeah.
fair. Like Ukraine, Russia, Thailand, big Cambodia push, Kuwait, all these like places. And you found a treasure trove of these advertisements that they had been using in these countries, and they are some of the weirdest, craziest, most nonsensical things you've ever seen.
Yeah.
We have a tradition of kind of showing these, and we came across some more.
Yes.
And it's just mind-blowing, and I think we may have found some of the best ones now.
Yeah.
Just as a refresher, this is one of the last ones we covered.
Yeah, we've shown this particular one before. Some of you will have seen it, but for those of you who haven't, let's just play it quickly.
Members of the GOP Doctors Caucus say the U.S. is missing an opportunity to save lives when it comes to...
Just again, pay attention on the radio. Did you hear it? It's like here in the news.
This is an opportunity to save lives.
Yeah, so the U.S. is missing an opportunity to save lives, probably because they're not giving that medicine.
Yeah, I wonder if
out.
Lianhua Qingwen is. I wonder if that's made by a Chinese state propaganda or state company with propaganda apparatus.
Exactly.
I wonder.
Anyway, so these guys are all working out, right?
vaccine strategy.
This guy's like, I'm out of here.
Sorry, I got cold.
Hey, take this.
Take it easy. I just got cold.
Just working out.
It's classic.
You
Classic.
just got...
We still discussed this before the show.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know. We didn't edit that. That's how
No,
it is.
that is
That's
just
the
how it
advert.
is.
That's the advert that was released to the world.
Yes.
And we've got it. They released it in multiple languages. They dubbed it into Thai.
Yep.
They've got
There's
Russian
some joke
subtitles.
here that I'm missing.
Yeah.
Take it. I get the fact, and again, I don't want to hyperanalyze this again. But he's like, here's her cough. She's got COVID, right?
Yeah.
Chucks her COVID medicine. COVID medicine.
Supposedly.
And she goes, oh, no, like, take it easy. I just get cold. Meaning, like, oh, it's not a big deal. I just have a cold.
It's not
Don't
COVID.
worry about
It's cold.
me. Yeah. And then what he replies, just working out. Why?
I don't know.
Why?
I have no idea, but he seems very pleased with himself. He's a very smug man. Look at that muscle. Yeah, exactly.
Don't mind me. I'm just going to make out with my bicep.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so that's one of them.
Okay.
And then this is a new one for all of you.
This is for the Russian-speaking audience.
Yeah.
I think it's the Russia-Ukraine region. They released these two in, and it is so stupid. I love it.
Yeah. So first of all, here's this guy hiking in his backyard or something. Take a look at his backpack. Right, very prominently, you can see in the netting over there 3 boxes of Lianhua Qingwen because it's so important that he has to carry. It's the most accessible thing, and it's there in the netting.
What's on the top? I guess it's like packets of nuts, right?
Well, that's just he's got stickers on his backpack, and then he's got the net. He's got the net, and then he's got probably a big water bottle down there.
Yeah, so more important than the water bottle is the Lianhua Qingwen.
If he's going to reach and get something, it's going to have to be the Lianhua
I like that
Qingwen.
we've already started analyzing this.
Yeah, anyway, what we'll do is we'll play it a little bit, okay? So you can see what happens here. So he's out hiking.
What's he looking
Під час подорожі часто трапляються якісь
He says, an adventure always comes with unexpected events. I'll just read it in English. You don't have to pause it.
Okay.
пригоди. Я досі
I'll never forget the 2 camping teenagers. What?
But, okay, I got to look at this scene. I got to look at this scene for a second here.
Well, so first of all, there's a guy can't walk in. For fellow listeners, there's a Russian guy, Ukrainian guy, whatever. I can't tell the difference because I don't speak Slavic languages.
Don't say that to a Ukrainian
I'm
or
saying
a
the
Russian.
language. I can't tell the language.
The language.
Obviously, freaking Slava Ukraini.
Well, I just can't tell the difference, yeah?
Slava Ukraini, bro.
Yeah.
I support Ukraine. Anyway, let's not make this a political issue. This is about Lianhua Qingwen.
Yeah, it's about Lianhua Qingwen, yeah.
Anyway, so there's a guy walking through the forest, Slavic guy.
Yeah, we can agree that we don't like this Slavic guy. You'll see why later, okay?
He's going like this.
Yeah, he's looking around.
And he goes, I always remember these 2 teenage camping boys.
So anyway, let's take a look at this campsite. And I'm going to ask you, if you're a teenage boy and you're going out into the woods, okay?
Yes.
Is this what you end up doing?
Oh, it's Ukrainian language.
It's Ukrainian, okay.
Yes.
Is this what you end up doing?
один з них сильно застудився.
Among whom a boy had a bad cold. I gave them Lianhua Qingwen capsules.
Yeah, so I just want to go back, but I just want to make that point that if I'm a teenage boy going out into the woods, I'm not taking an easel and
I'm getting
painting.
wasted.
I'm not painting a freaking landscape.
I'm having a massive bonfire. I'm cooking meat and I'm drinking alcohol. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm not freaking painting on an easel.
The guy-
while my friend
yeah.
is hacking up a lung with COVID.
It looks like he's sitting on a sofa all wrapped up in a duvet or something like that, also painting. He's also painting. So is he painting his friend who's painting because of the way they're faced over there?
I have no idea.
Anyway, I just wanted to point that out. I found that kind of odd. You know,
Yes.
the Ukrainian, or let's
Yeah.
just say the Ukrainian teenagers in the wilderness are going to go paint.
Yes. Is this what you guys do?
I just
Ukraine. I know we have Ukrainian viewers right now.
Yeah.
Do you guys, when you go, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
this. You guys don't do that.
I'm pretty sure
Ukrainians
they
are
don't do
chill as hell, and
Yeah,
they
they're
go
not
and
gonna-
get wasted in the woods like any other teenage.
You're not
boy.
going to go out there and
No.
paint with and bring your freaking easel.
No.
You know?
No.
It's like a middle-aged woman with a tie-dye
All I'm saying is
dress
that
on.
apparently Eastern Europe is freaking sophisticated
Anyway,
as hell.
yeah.
They suppress their teenage feelings of wanting to get drunk in the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
Bust out the easel.
Anyway, let's continue.
Сильно застудився.
Bro, let's go in the woods and paint.
Yeah.
I gave them Lianhua Qingwen,
Ці капсули в
which I always carry with me.
Yeah.
We enjoy chatting till late at night.
Why are you keeping the sick guy up? You know what I mean? Go to bed. Go sleep.
Imagine you and your buddy are painting.
Yeah.
The one guy's like, bro, I have COVID. Why'd you take me out here? It's freezing. I'm
Yeah.
gonna die. I'm
Yeah.
actually gonna die out here. We have
Yeah.
no medical response. And this middle-aged man just starts rolling through the forest. You're like, shit.
Yeah.
shit, you're starting thinking of like dark web videos and
Sure.
shit. You're like, you remember that thing about that murder that happened in the like Ukrainian forest or something back in the day. That's what's going through.
That's what's going through your mind.
their head. And he's like coughing, he's hacking up a lung, and the guy's like, "Here, I got some Chinese medicine in my backpack, which I always carry."
Yeah,
with me."
have this Chinese medicine, and I'm going to keep you up all night chatting with you while you suffer.
Yes.
Anyway, let's continue and take a look.
Я вирушив далі.
Тримай. Тобі стане.
Take it, you'll feel better.
Дякую.
Thanks.
Та я
I'll
ніколи
never forget the light from their 2 flashlights.
Okay.
не забуду яскраве світло тих двох кишенькових ліхтариків, які ще довго
So what?
Which brighten my road ahead.
What reality is this?
Okay, so first of all, he comes across this campsite with these 2 dudes painting. The one guy's really sick. He gives him some Chinese medicine, forces him to stay up all night, then forces him to escort him through the darkness. This is what I'm getting from this. You know what I
cured
mean?
his COVID, I think.
He's like, hey,
That's
man,
his
listen,
plan.
you better light up my path.
You freaking
Yeah, you walk all the way with me.
Older dude gives teen boys cold medicine in Florida.
I know.
I mean, the context.
Yeah, it is
here.
pretty ridiculous. But anyway, we got to learn more about our traveling
Our
capsule
traveling
man here.
Capsule man. By the way, these ads are obviously written by China because if you watch all of them across the countries, they all follow the exact same kind of vibe and film quality. So they had a Chinese film crew doing
Absolutely.
this.
Yeah.
A perfectly normal night.
Yeah.
This is the way.
Yeah, it is. Lianhua Qingwen safeguards your breath, provides multi-protection and more warmth.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Poor Ukraine had to go through these advertising campaigns.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the result of China teaming up with Russia. You know,
What do you mean?
they assault Ukraine with this.
Yeah, China teams up with Russia
Yeah.
against Ukraine, but you know, on the media surface, like we didn't pick a side. Secretly, they
Yeah.
make Ukrainians watch this bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Make them take their crap fake medicine.
Anyway, let's take a look at this. Now, it's the same guy. It's the same.
Ukraine suffered enough.
I know. So it's the same guy from the woods, okay?
Yeah.
Let's see what he's got to do now.
у цього чоловіка
He suffers from
важкувата
serious
гра.
obsessive compulsive disorder with many shortcomings.
Yeah, I think he's
Okay.
got shortcomings, all right.
Він часто злиться
He gets irritated easily and likes nagging. This is the most
He
abusive shit.
likes
Watch this.
nagging. Like,
Why?
this is a guy you don't want around women or children. Watch him.
буркотиться.
That look!
I know.
Oh my gosh!
How dare he look at his wife like that?
The worst is that cut there because
Yeah.
he's like taking out all his anger on the soccer game, right?
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, okay, whatever. I guess that's, Slavs and like soccer, right?
Suppose,
and
yeah.
they're freaking. I like a little bit of soccer, but he's
Yeah.
getting real mad.
Yeah.
But then he turns to his wife with the same look.
Yeah, it's like, how dare you interrupt my rage? You know?
Do I?
He's not happy anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, his poor
Look at
wife.
that look. Go back there. Like,
Yeah.
lead up to that situation. Yeah, right there. Right there.
Yeah, so he likes nagging. Let's get it.
By the way, can I remind everyone, this
Yeah.
is an ad for Chinese medicine.
Yeah, it's an advert for Chinese medicine. He's getting real angry. Okay. And then his poor wife coughs. It's like,
He's like,
how
"You,
dare you interrupt me with
First the sucker!"
your damn coughing, you know? Anyway, so what does he get up to? She's like, oh no.
She's like, I know this look.
Yeah.
First, she's like, the flowers are next. But first, I have to suffer through
Exactly. So what does he
this. Domestic abuse, lol.
Yeah, exactly.
Однак це не заважає
However, he is still very considerate towards her.
йому любити її.
Switched.
Yeah.
Ну чому ти не п'єш?
Why don't you drink enough water or eat fruits?
Why? This is it. It's like they had to replay the scene in like a passive way because it would actually be like, why don't you drink enough water or eat fruits? You know?
He does, so he doesn't have OCD with those curtains.
That's true. Anyway, where does this go?
Вітаміни. Ти чому захворіла?
Why did you catch a cold?
Yeah, it's like, why did you catch a cold? You know,
That's what he wants to
it's
say.
victim blaming. It's
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, you caught a cold.
Why
That's
did
terrible.
you
Like,
catch
yeah,
a
why
cold?
did you catch a cold? It's like your fault.
І навіть іноді бути трохи романтичним.
And even sometimes being a bit romantic.
So it's apparently it's. By the way, I heard in Ukraine, cold catches you. So
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
he's blaming her.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Одна,
This is romantic, by the way.
дві.
Calling out the pseudoscience.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Is
That's
that
a lot of pills.
Is that romantic though?
Yes, when my wife goes, kind of feeling like I'm getting in the mood, I'm like, put out your hand.
Yeah.
1, 2,
This stuff will make you feel terrible. Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
You will feel heart palpitations.
Yeah, exactly.
Stockholm syndrome.
It is Stockholm syndrome. Anyway, let's continue here.
Поцілувати
Kiss
кохану,
your beloved when she is sick.
коли вона захворіла. Разом приймати
Look at the rage suppression.
Yes. Lianhua Qingwen safeguards her breath, provides multi-protection, and more love.
насторожі її безпеки, спокою та
I mean,
вільноти.
he flipped on a dime.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
he was freaking furious. Of
course
I thought
he
he was about
was.
to throw hands.
Yeah, I mean, look at
threw pills.
the rage in
Yeah.
this man's eyes. He's not happy. You know what I mean? He's very yeah. It's just like
Dubai!
yeah. He's a very unhappy man.
I hope somebody in our community can make a big comeback for Gopnik, bro. Very wholesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope someone can put something together because remember that one
With Jeff,
take
the pills, Jeff. That was great.
amazing.
Yeah.
If someone makes something out of this, it could be hilarious. I had some thoughts in my mind about him just continually putting more and more pills into her hand over and over again.
Forcing her to take Lianhua Qingwen over and over. But anyway, you get the idea. This is China's ham-fisted attempt at getting people to take their fairly ineffective cold medicine as a cure for everything. So.
Yeah. Why didn't she eat fruit?
By the way, hang on a second.
Yeah.
And then now this is Russian state media.
So we're digging around the annals. Right?
Yeah.
And this is just great. This shows you how much sway China has over these other countries. They had a TV show in Russia where they got doctors, right?
Yeah.
And they probably are doctors. I don't know why I put in this.
What's it called? Vedov Clinic?
I don't know.
Yeah, it
I
looks
can't
like in
read
the
that.
top.
Anyway, that.
Yeah.
And they're talking, they get these guys, these doctors, these experts that talk about how awesome Lianhua Qingwen is. And it shows you, because it's a state company in China, they can get other countries that also have authoritarian governments to say whatever they want them to.
I just don't understand this man's hair.
This is Russia, it's not Ukraine. At least what I can say about Gopnik Niet guy, he had a normal haircut, right?
Yeah, this is
He looked
not normal.
This is a golden retriever.
It's a gold, who, I don't know, still loves the Beatles or something.
Bro is like King Midas, but only touches hair. That is the shiniest shit I've ever seen in my life.
So let's take a look at what he has to say over here, okay? You want to read the first thing he says?
Oh, he's just, go ahead, yeah.
He says in 2019, during the first outbreaks of
году, когда
COVID-19,
началась эпидемия коронавируса в Китае, они, конечно, подняли
They definitely employed the traditional Chinese medicines.
все свои и традиционные китайские препараты, и официально. И в 20
Conducted official R&D and tests in 20 hospitals.
клиниках они начали проводить исследования.
From China.
И
And at the beginning, they surely used Lianhua Qingwen for small-scale trials.
первоначально, конечно, они...
And so they get these Russians to say this stuff, the golden retriever guy, and then they bring it back over for promotional material in China.
Yeah, they're like, look, foreigners have tested this. Foreigners think this is good, so that means it's good.
Когда клинику проводили...
Absolutely ridiculous.
That hair is absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
Yes.
Anyway, guys, wow. So before we get into the main segment of our show, which I'm sure you're waiting for, the whole China wants you to have sex aspect of this, we want to remind you that we have a VIP show every Monday. It's called Shaban Ho, and this is what you missed this past Monday. Bring it up for you. We're talking about amusement parks here, and I'm telling you, there's nothing amusing about these parks. You know what I mean? What the hell? This is a bad idea. That's gotta hurt. Oh, look, this is awesome.
Dude, the slam.
Guys, you cannot trust amusement park rides or anything of that sort in China. Cool. So, yes, it was a lot of fun. And it's the show where we can show things that we can't really show in the main show.
Yeah.
We just don't.
Yeah, I think you can kind of pick up on that.
So yeah, if you if you'd like to join us, if you have the means, please head on over to patreon.com/ADV podcasts to join the Shaban Ho tier and join us on Mondays for a fantastic fun show.
Yeah, and if you can't afford the tier which gets you the live video show, there's one tier that's half the price right below it. That's the audio version.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say this is actually the best way to support us from any perspective. Out of any way you can support us, this is the most direct way to support us. And it's also not just a donation, you're getting a whole nother show. This is not like we're going to show you a funny clip and then bye.
Yeah,
it's a whole nother China show on Monday, but about other topics that we can't talk about.
We
here.
hone in on very specific topics.
And we do a Q&A without super chats or anything. Like if you guys are in there, we answer every one of your questions. And it's super fun. It's like the best part of the week.
Hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's time now for us to move on to Soft Power Hour, which is the main part of our show where we talk about how China's trying to change your mind through various ways and change people's minds. And of course, we're talking about the whole sex in China thing and why it's trying to be promoted so much. First, probably you can explain what's happening in the background here.
Actually, I don't think I can explain what's happening in the background here because this is something we actually covered in Xiaoban Ho.
Yeah.
But it actually ties into what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of more weird ways to get around censorship and pornography laws in China.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that you're seeing in mainstream China, but is like skirting the law, no pun intended, by doing things that would absolutely be illegal in China's eyes, but then kind of sneaking it in there.
Yeah.
And I actually want to get into it, so you just play it a little bit. But we covered this in serious depth.
Yeah, in Xiaoban Ho. If you want to know exactly what's going on, we did an episode on Xiaoban Ho about this particular one.
Yes. But in relation to the whole sexuality thing, there is not a revolution because the government doesn't want necessarily people talking more about sex, but at the same time, they are faced with an insurmountable task, and that is the Human Resources and Planning Department of the Chinese government, of the CCP, is facing a demographic crisis. And the leadership has finally said, wait a minute, this is a big issue. Now, to really run you through this super quick, China's demographic crisis means that they are not replacing themselves. So you have a society and culture, a Confucian society with filial piety, that you need to take care of your parents, right, when they get old.
Yep.
And potentially even your grandparents.
Yes.
Depending on what situation you're in. It's a bit of a tit for tat. While you go to work and you provide money for your parents, right, taking care of them in old age, your grandparents could potentially stay home and take care of, or your parents could stay home and take care of your kids.
The parents do. They stay at home. They take care of their kids. They're like, actually, children are not brought up by their parents, more by their grandparents.
Yes.
Grandparents are cooking for them, taking them to school, picking them up, all that, while the parents go off and do the work.
Right.
Earn the money.
Yeah.
And so they live with you and so on,
Yeah, but the problem with that is that that's all fine and dandy. In a country that doesn't really have any social programs to actually help people out through pregnancy or retirement, China doesn't provide, despite being called the Communist Party of China or the socialist government, doesn't really provide its citizens with any sort of social safety net. Yeah. So that's why that system kind of proliferates. That's why you invest in property. Right? That's why you pass houses down through the family as a way to give money to somebody.
Yeah.
That's why your parents live with you in China. It's because everyone kind of needs to take care of each other because the government doesn't do such a thing.
That's right.
It's a very cutthroat, state-run capitalist society.
Yeah, family is what keeps the entire society together, because without support from family members and, taking loans out from your uncles or whatever, although you don't really get many uncles these days, but you know what I'm saying? You need to be able to support each other because the government's not going to support you in China.
That's something, a barrier I want people to get out of their heads. Yeah. It's not the socialist alternative to America. It's a poor capitalist country with very authoritarian state-run powers that promote censorship, pretty much. Yeah. Anyway, right now, because cost of living has gotten so high and unemployment is so high for the youth, which we'll get into in a minute, there's no really conducive situation for people to want to have more kids.
Yeah.
You're coming out of this really horrible period where millions and millions and millions of births were either stopped or prevented from China's one-child policy. And I say, it doesn't matter where you are in the whole abortion debate or topic. The reason I say it's unfortunate is because there were so many people that wanted to have children that were prevented from having them.
It's a situation of my body, not my choice.
It's never been your choice in China.
I mean, that's something a lot of people have to get over, because for the abortion thing, it's usually people who want it, people who don't want it, okay? And they kind of have an argument.
Yeah.
But here is a situation where you want to have a child, but you're not allowed to, and if you do get pregnant, the government came and forced you to have an abortion, even late-term abortions.
Yes.
Even when, like, you're pretty much ready to give birth, or even as you give birth.
This happened a lot.
So it's a bad situation.
It's one of the highest abortion rates in the world, and it's not necessarily by choice. Now, here's the deal. Going around China, you would often be bombarded with things like this. Is propaganda, one-child policy propaganda. One child is enough. One kid is enough, right? They're saying that if you have more than one kid, it's actually against the law. So be happy with your one child.
Yes.
Because that's how we can limit our population and keep a poor country like China afloat, because then we don't have to worry too much about taking care of 1 billion kids, right? So this is what they did. And it was a counter, it was kind of an antidote towards Chairman Mao. What Chairman Mao did in the inception of Communist China was to tell people to have as many children as possible.
Yeah, he gave incentives and basically paid peasants to have kids because he wanted meat grinder.
Yes.
He wanted to be able to send cannon fodder in.
Yes.
And he was always like, hey, we've got such a big population. Doesn't matter if we get hit with a nuke because only half the people will die type thing.
It was always a number game.
Yeah, and he also quoted very famously, to read too many books is harmful.
Yes.
He's not a very bright man.
He also never brushed his teeth.
No, it's disgusting. He looks like a turd floating in water too. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We don't
swimming campaign.
Yeah, we don't need to get into his nonsense, but he ruined it.
Yes.
So China had to drastically scale back because now there were too many people. Poor government can't support them. Worried about,
You have, and I think it's so important to go back to the one-child policy when we highlight this topic before we get into what they're going to try to do with a knee-jerk reaction to this, because China's never had a long-term plan. China's never been in a situation where it's been planning properly. It has state-controlled eugenics.
Yes.
And when the population is too low, or they want to have a meat grinder, like you said in the Korean War and things like this, then they boost the population. They make people, they make people have children.
Yeah, but they incentivize it.
They give ration tickets. Yeah. They force you to. They punish people if they don't, right?
Yes.
They find every single way to make sure that you do. And then when it's too much, they pull it back and they say, no, we'll actually abort your children. We'll kill your children if you have more than one. So then it led the country to have a bunch of people without ID cards that couldn't even be registered because no one could afford the fine when they illegally have their kids, right? We met illegal people in China.
Some very, very nice people who were not registered people. They call them
black people.
Yeah, they call them black people. Heiren.
It's not
they're not talking about the color of their skin.
Color,
They're talking about their legal status.
Yeah.
Actually, this post in the background, it gives you a lot of insight because it's that whole Sheng Nan, Sheng Nu, Doyan, which means there's no difference between having a son or a daughter, basically. They'll both take care of you. That's what this says.
And that's also a symptom of the problems of
you want to know why there's
eugenics.
you know why there's a gender imbalance in China with like 30-something million more women than men, or whatever it is.
Men than women.
Yeah, men than women, sorry.
Yeah, that's an important detail.
Not 300 million, whatever it is.
No, it's 30 million.
It's 30 million, whatever. It's a lot, okay. You want to know why? It's because if you're only allowed to have one child, the preference in China has always been to have a boy. Because in traditional Chinese culture, he will look after the parents. The girl kind of gets sold off to another family.
Yes.
And then you don't get involved. You don't go live with her, right?
Yeah.
It's only the boy's family that gets to live with the boy when he gets married, that type of thing. So also, in an agrarian society, if you got to look after farms and stuff, having a boy is much more beneficial because they can work the fields.
Yes.
Or whatever the case. So in the rural areas especially, if they find out they've got a girl, they get an abortion.
That's right.
Because they only want a boy.
Right.
So that's why you have that gender imbalance, just so that you know.
No, that's good context.
The government really disgustingly, in a very unnatural way, destroyed the demographics of China.
It's not promoting people's choice of family planning. It was government-controlled family planning, and it still is.
Yeah.
So we had a theory, right? We saw China come out of this whole one-child policy. A vast majority of our friends are single children.
Yes.
They're one children, right?
Yeah.
They were born in a single-child environment, so they were a product of this generation.
Yeah.
Now, this was only very quickly changed not that long ago.
Yeah, I mean,
they're
while
like,
we
oh,
were-
shit, we're
while we
running
were
out of
there.
people.
Yeah.
Right? Let's have 2 children now.
Yeah.
Then they go, oh, quickly, 3 children. Oh, quickly. Oh, there's no restrictions
Yeah, let's just
anymore.
get the restrictions out of there.
And that was so fast because there was no long-term plan.
No, and
there was none.
Again, and they won't ever act on anything until it starts to affect them.
Yes.
They start to see the, oh, look, India's about to overtake us in population. We can't have that. What's wrong? Why is that happening? Oh, this thing that everyone else has been telling us about for years about how it's a bad idea to do this one-child policy. Yeah, maybe they're right. Okay, let's quickly change it. But it's too late at that point.
Yes.
It's a knee-jerk stuff.
So just leave this up. I want to talk about
Okay.
this.
All right.
Just threw in a couple slides to see what's going down. So anyway, right now, the government's family planning kind of committee has to come up with some crazy stuff because they need to replace their population and get back to positive population growth.
Sure.
Or else China's population is gone, right? Like over time. If they're really going to be the great nation of China, then you can't have a nation that's half the size anymore. It won't work. You can't have an economy that actually takes care and provides itself anything when the population is all elderly.
Yes.
And the young people can't afford to take care of them anymore. Like I said, China is not a rich country. It's very poor. The average per person salary, the per person GDP in China is about $13,000 US, and that's a year. And that's a very generous.
Yeah, and that's really disingenuous because the fact is like half of the country is very poor.
Yes.
And the other half is pretty much in the middle class, and only a very small percentage is
middle class for China.
Yeah, is very rich, and that's what skews this thing to 13,000. If it wasn't for all these billionaires that you get in China, of which there are many because of government connections and the way China works, you'd probably be looking at an average salary of like $1,000 a year or something ridiculously low.
It's if you separated all of the
if you got the very rich, the top percentage, and you just took them out of that equation,
it would be much less.
Yeah.
So by comparison, so we're talking about 13,000 on average for the country.
Yeah.
And that's generous, right?
Yes.
Not taking into account income inequality.
Sure.
In the U.S. is 80,000, right? So just have some perspective there. It's about 8 times poorer per person, you know, in China. So don't ever buy into the propaganda that China is like made it somehow, right? No. Anyway. I digress because what's happening now is that they realize that they haven't. Remember when Japan went through its whole demographic crisis, right? And they're like, well, there's too many old people. There's not enough young people having babies and stuff. Japan had already become a wealthy country.
Yes.
With massive social programs.
Yeah.
They hyper-focused on promoting a democratic values-based society, right? That was able to take care of itself through allowing full democracy and voting in policies that help people in the country.
Sure.
China's not a democracy.
No.
China's also not rich. China doesn't have social safety nets. So it's not at a point where it can take care of itself and hit that middle income trap.
Yeah.
It's not there yet.
No,
it's not even close, right? Somewhere, maybe about halfway in the world for wealth. It's not ready to stop growing. It needs consistent growth to keep going.
Yeah.
So there's a disaster impending. I mean, you hear a lot of stuff. There's some big voices like Peter Zahan, right? There's big voices out there that talk about this, and they're not wrong in that China is facing a massive problem right around the corner.
Yes.
So here you have heavy-handed government approaches saying, okay, fine. There is kind of a problem here. They were throwing around terms like, oh, yes, we don't have the biggest population anymore, but we have the highest quality population.
Oh, yeah, it's about the quality.
It's about the quality of the people, right? Throwing out racist tropes like this.
Yeah.
But now realizing that they have to face the music and do something about it. So first you have the one-child policy.
Yeah.
First you have the eugenics boost, right?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to have kids. Then they have the one-child policy. Then they get rid of the one-child policy. So we've had this, right?
Yeah.
Now they're like, wait a minute, we gotta have kids again, right?
Yeah.
So we need to push them because after getting rid of the limitations for birth, nobody had kids.
Yes.
It kept going down.
Because China right now, because of the one-child policy, it has become too expensive to raise children.
Yes.
It's incredibly expensive. If you're out in the rural farmlands, whatever, we know lots of people from the rural. They have a lot of illegal kids.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way it is out there. But if you're living in a city, to raise a child is incredibly expensive in China. And because of the one-child policy, this fierce competition system is kind of been bred.
Yes.
So you have to have the best grades. You have to go to the best schools. You have to do a lot of after-school tuition.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so to raise a child in China costs, it's a luxury.
Can I throw in something?
Yeah, what's
I
that?
think people might be shocked by this because you have, bad old America that doesn't take care of their people, and there's no social programs. It's free to go to school until college.
In
right?
America.
It's free.
Yeah,
in
which is
America,
weird.
Right? Most countries don't have that. Well, a lot of countries don't have that.
No,
right?
most countries I know of don't.
Yes. China doesn't either, right? In a socialist, communist country that's supposed to take care of its citizens and everyone works together for the collective good, you have to pay for tuition.
Yeah,
right?
well, and especially extracurricular tuition is
Oh,
very
it's
expensive.
public school too.
Yeah.
You still have to pay tuition. You still have to
Yep.
pay your book fees and stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
Now, I want to get into some of these policies.
Okay.
So China's come up with some government policies, and this first slide pertains to this. They're
Not
you
that.
keep going past. I had it on that slide for a reason.
Oh, what? This thing? Okay.
They are going to start teaching in schools
Yeah.
the concept of guiding young people towards the positive concept of marriage and childbirth, something that they've actively avoided because they're trying to control the population.
Yes.
You don't talk about marriage, you don't talk about childbirth, you don't talk about sex, you don't talk about sex education.
Yeah, sex education isn't a thing in China, by the
No.
way. It might shock you, but it's not, it's just not a thing.
Yes.
So,
instituting, and again, this is something that they're...
in schools and high schools,
Yeah.
I'm saying,
But they're going to start from a young age. That's why I put some elementary school kids. So you see a school like this,
Yeah.
they're going to have policies saying you need to get married, you need to find a wife and have babies. You are going to grow up and be a wife, and you're going to have children. You're going to get married.
Yeah.
These are things that you never brought up in front of kids in China. That is now potentially going to be part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
Right. The next thing is they're going to be promoting marriage. Right. So there's going to be in the propaganda department.
Yeah.
They're going to be promoting marriage. There will be like, how you have those banners about the one child policy.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
going to have the opposite. You're going to have let's get married. Let's come together and help China for the greater good.
yeah, let's have lots of kids.
I think there's a huge problem with all these points I'm going to read out is that none of them will work because nobody gives a shit about propaganda in China anymore.
Yeah,
People actively ignore it.
they do.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
You'll have
It's just
things.
noise in the background. You see
Yeah.
it everywhere.
There's something about you can rile people up with nationalism. Say, okay, America's our enemy now, because that's like a steam pressure valve.
Sure, yeah.
You have this high pressure society where everyone's working their asses off, but you have massive censorship and no freedom of speech.
Yeah, and there's a lot of issues that you have in your life, but you cannot complain about
Yeah.
them. Because if you do, you'll go to jail.
Right. So they go, oh, you can complain about Japan or America.
Yeah, so everyone just goes crazy, but they're just venting their frustrations.
About domestic society.
Yeah.
But so you have like campaigns like, oh, everyone get married now. Let's join hands and all get married and have babies.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to pay attention to that shit.
No.
People think, honestly, a lot of Chinese people think propaganda is cringe. So that'll be interesting. There's going to be campaigns to teach men and women about parenting responsibilities. Again, something that was never, ever talked about from the government's perspective.
Yeah.
Right? That was something that you learned from your mother-in-law or something.
Did you hear they're blaming the West for their declining birth rates?
Oh, yeah. What's this now?
Well, they're blaming Western like TV shows and things that show independent women and things like that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a huge,
Yeah.
by the way, there's a huge crackdown in feminism in China right now.
Oh yeah, dude.
They're disappearing feminists.
I talked about it in my most recent video, but there were those like 5 feminists wanted to go protest for the hashtag Me Too movement or something
Because it's a big deal in
on
China.
Women's
It's really
Day,
bad. Yeah.
International Women's Day. So they organized it in their little WeChat group, and then they all got arrested at night before the next day before they could go and protest. And they got disappeared for a month before they were ever like charged with anything. They were picked up for that picking quarrels and whatever nonsense. Some of them are still in jail.
Oh, there's lots. There's a whole
Yeah.
great article actually that I think you linked to it.
I linked to it in my last video.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Anyway, so yeah, they're blaming the West for the fact that women don't have birth.
You know that's actually really funny because
Yeah.
that's actually a follow-up to remember they were blaming K-dramas for feminizing men so
Yes.
that they weren't having sex.
Yeah, yeah.
They're saying men aren't having sex now because they want to be like women, like those gay-looking K-drama guys. That's what the Chinese government
They
is saying.
actually banned sissy boys.
Yeah, that what they call sissy boys, right? That was actually a whole campaign. So
Yeah.
anyway, long story short.
Yeah, that's why like the communist leprechaun had to get rid of his little earring.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him have an earring.
Yeah, like this
On
is
state
so
media.
funny. There's like this horrible watered toad of a man that goes around doing communist propaganda for the Chinese government. This little
State media, yeah.
leprechaun, and he used to have one of those little feminine earring things. The men sometimes get like a
I
little.
guess I rarely saw
here,
the
you know,
little
here?
one. Yeah, I used to have earrings,
And he's
but not
very proud
this.
of this. He's
Yeah.
one of those really cringe middle-aged men who
Yeah.
think they're a teenager.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. And when he started to do state media work, they forced him to remove it.
'Cause that was during the whole sissy boy thing.
Yeah, during the sissy boy thing. So he had to actually get rid of his style. It must have really hurt his little ego.
Yes.
He's actually got a massive ego, but he's a little man. So
I gotcha.
anyway,
Oh, there's nothing wrong with being a little man.
no, unless
Short
you're him.
kings
Unless
for
you're
the
him,
win, right?
then you know if
Right.
you're him, then it's a problem.
Right.
You know, that's just how it works.
Short kings.
Okay.
I'm not short, so I shouldn't be representing short kings.
No, you
but
should
I respect a short king.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's also talks about curbing bride prices. You can explain bride price.
Okay, bride prices is this ridiculous thing. I made a video ages ago about selling wives in the park or whatever.
Yeah, that's actually this.
And this is what happens: is the grandparents or the parents usually they hang out on the Saturdays and they have these bride markets, and what they have is literally like a resume.
Yeah.
For their son or their daughter there, and it'll be like what their education is, how much they earn every month, all their age, all that kind of stuff. And the other parents or grandparents of a person will walk around and, oh, that one looks like they might, match my son-in-law or my son or whatever the case. Not son-in-law. What am I saying? My son. Because they're not married.
Probably
Obviously,
not,
what the hell's wrong with me? But and they'll be like, oh yeah, my daughter this and that, and then they'll start negotiating.
Yes.
As if they're bartering goods.
That's how they'll treat it.
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, well, my son has a better education than your daughter, so I'm not sure. And then they work this all out. But basically, they're arranging marriages.
Yes.
Okay. Of course, if they strike a deal and they kind of come to a consensus, then they'll introduce the two younger people, and hopefully they hit it off. Not that long ago, they would kind of force them to get married, but not these days. They'll still try to encourage it. And
They definitely try, but the young people are like, no.
Yeah, they will hound and pester them. But basically, if a woman gets married to a man in China, the man's family is expected to pay a bride price.
Yes.
A huge amount of money. And it all depends on where they're from, but a lot.
If you're in the countryside, it could be an ox.
Yeah.
But
they might expect hundreds of thousands of RMB,
Yeah.
millions of
A
RMB, cars, a house.
Yeah.
Has to be provided anyway from
Yeah.
if the husband's side or the man's side, he has to make sure that there's a house.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. And they basically selling their daughters off there, and it's a crazy kind of a situation.
Yeah. So also there's another point to this.
Yeah.
Some of the propaganda campaign, well, this is being toyed with the government right now as policy, future policy, to combat the whole 30 million extra men thing.
Yeah.
And that is to start campaigns to encourage women to choose to marry and have children. So basically women that were like, there's no one out there for me or whatever, to go find one of those 30 million single men out in the villages to have babies. And you start to see this. You might think, finally the Chinese government's going to try to do something about this. Keep in mind, they've done this 3 times now. This is round 4 of trying to control the population. And it's not about the future of society. This is not about society's quality, as they say. This isn't about trying to instill morality in the populace.
Yeah.
This is about a numbers game. And
Correct.
this is so the Chinese government doesn't lose power over the citizens. That's really what it all boils down to.
That's what it is. Just looking up what the population of Australia is, like 25 million people.
Yes, yeah.
So you've got more than the population of Australia. And actually, that's not even true, because nowadays the Australian population, a huge portion of that is Chinese anyway.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like,
It's not 10 million.
no, it's not that much. It's probably more like 8.5 or 9.
No.
I'm just kidding. Either way, what I'm trying to, illustrate here is that there are more single men in China, like, the imbalance, than there is the entire population of Australia.
Yes.
Okay? It's
So
a lot.
2 birds with 1 stone here.
Yeah.
Next is introducing tax incentives.
Well, they've already done that.
Yes. But this is like, I guess, a continued effort, right?
Yeah.
Free or subsidized education for children for having a 3rd child.
Yeah.
So they're saying, okay, your education will become free for that 3rd child if you have 3. Because think about it. If you've had 2, you've replaced the old people, right?
Yeah.
If you have 3, that's the extra that they actually need to boost the demographics.
They're actually thinking about doing these kind of things and tax breaks and free education for even the first child now. just to get people to have that.
That's
first
again,
child.
I think it's that word that you just used is very important. Thinking about none of these things are set in stone.
No.
I'll tell you why. Like at the end after this, monthly stipends of a few hundred yuan per month to take care of the kid. I mean, that's like $20-$30.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're not to maybe max $50 a month.
Yeah.
We're not talking about like, I don't think, do you think anyone, they're waking up in Shenzhen, they're like, I wasn't going to have a kid, but they said the local government's actually going to give me $50 a month.
Yeah.
You think anyone's going to do that?
No, unless they're like, you know what, their mother or something will try to force them because she wants that sweet 50 RMB a month extra, you know, to get some vegetables or something. What's going on with this graph?
I have two more principles here, but we can talk about this real quick.
Okay.
This is a graph of China's population growth, right?
Yes.
So you watch it from 1950, right?
600,000.
You notice
600 million.
I
Sorry.
put it up here for two reasons. Can you tell in the beginning of the graph why I wanted to throw that up there?
With that little dip.
What is that dip? What do you think that dip is?
Well, that's like all the death of starvation from Mao Zedong's failed policies.
Yes. Isn't that scary? You can actually see it. And that was counted, right? That was counted.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the people that weren't counted?
Oh, it's incredible, the amount of death from famine and starvation. It's awful.
It's bad. Anyway, you should never, ever see that on a graph.
No, that's terrible. That's like the plague is hit or something.
Yeah, I remember probably around 80 million people starved to death.
Yeah, that's the going estimate.
Yes. But then you go up, right? You have a big jump in population, right? Even a jump in population during one-child policy.
Yeah.
Right, which shows you how poorly things are enforced in China. And then, all of a sudden, what do you see around 2020, 2021?
It's like a plateau. It's kind of starting to go down again.
You're looking at a dip.
Yeah.
You're actually looking at the population in decline, not just not replacing itself.
Yeah.
That's very dangerous.
It's now been the lowest birth rate like in the history of modern China. Last year and this year's even less.
Yeah.
So it is going down. It's a massive downward trend.
Yeah.
Even with all these new policies. Anyway, what's next?
Cutting Gaokao entrance exam is on the table potentially. That's crazy. People have to understand how crazy that is.
Is this part of this whole thing?
Yeah, leave it on there.
All right, Gaokao, for those of you who don't know, it's the college entrance exam. Now, China is backwards compared to the rest of the world, okay? I would say, you know, primary school, high school, you kind of mess around, and then when you get into university, now it's time to study, okay? In most, you know, because now it's the big leagues, it's university, you're going to get your bachelor's, you're going to get your degree, whatever, you really have to write your thesis, whatever, you really like buckle down. Yeah. In China, primary school and high school are absolute hell. I mean, you are expected to get 99% or better for every test you take, okay? And the reason for this is this competition, okay? Universities have limited space.
Yeah.
And only the best and brightest students are accepted into the universities, especially a good one.
Yeah.
So if you've got a good university in your town or your city, you've got very, very limited spots. So only the people who pass the college entrance exam with the highest marks, like 100% plus, basically, are going to get a spot. So the pressure on the children to pass that exam with a high mark is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
So pretty much their entire high school lives it's all focused on passing that exam, and they study crazy. They do all the extra studying, all the cram schools, all this kind of nonsense, and it's a huge pressure on young boys and girls, and in fact leads to suicide often. It leads to lots of problems.
Yes.
It's a very, very awful sort of a situation, and because of that, kids don't have any time for romance. They don't have any time to
find their first boyfriend, girlfriend.
Go mingle, go hang out, go to the park or, like amusement park together or something because they're studying. So if they get rid of this whole pressure for studying, they think that they might be able to kindle some romance.
Yeah, so it's a huge flip-flop. It was very demonized to ever even consider having a boyfriend or girlfriend in high school in China. That was like, whoa, almost illegal, by some accounts, right? So to flip-flop like that on a dime, be like, no, we want to encourage this now.
Yeah.
And it's actually, there's some other symptoms. Anyway, shortening the 12-year education time to 10 years as opposed to 12 years in school. That's another symptom of this. That's
get them out of school so they can actually go have kids.
Have kids, get married early.
Yeah.
And part of this policy is actually to teach kids what is the correct age to get married. Because now they're worried about people, oh, I'm going to get married when I'm 30. And by that time, they're like, okay, we'll wait a couple years and then we'll have a kid. And maybe they won't. Right?
Yeah.
They're like, well, these kids should be having kids early. It's getting to a point now where it's looking like the Chinese government wants very young people to have babies and they won't be punished for it anymore.
Yeah.
There won't be forced abortions. They'll be encouraged.
Yeah.
And me and you joked about this before. We said, we wouldn't be surprised if China was going to take a very heavy-handed approach and start forcing people to have kids.
Forcefully inseminating people and things like that.
I think, I don't want to get conspiracy about that, but I think we're on the cusp of the government freaking out and looking at very drastic options right now, stuff that they would have never considered before.
Perhaps fining you for not having a child.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's the next step, and then forceful insemination is eventually maybe the end game if they're actually going to pull this off.
Correct.
And I thought, it's a joke, and we'll maintain it as a joke, but I don't think it's necessarily out of the realm of possibility.
No, absolutely not. They're also one of the policies there. These have not been put forward, but this is what they've put forward for consideration: is to not punish women for having children out of wedlock.
Yes,
because you're not allowed to. And this is something most people still don't understand about China: is if you're pregnant and you're not married, you have to have an abortion.
Yes.
You have to.
Yeah.
You cannot register or legally register that child.
Yeah.
So your child won't have a national ID number.
Yes.
That means no hukou.
No.
That means no schooling. That means no bank accounts. That means no driver's license. That means not being able to do anything.
Right.
You're literally like a homeless beggar person who has to live their entire life under the table.
Right.
Getting cash from people to survive or whatever.
Right.
Living in a back room in the house and have to hide every time the police come around.
That's right.
It's like a Jew hiding from the Nazis.
Right. Right.
It's a horrible situation in China. So they're thinking about dropping that. So if you have a kid out of wedlock, it'll be okay because they need the children. They need the population,
Yeah, for sure. So there was some stuff. I don't know if we have time for this. I just wanted to say another reason that people don't want to have children is that 1 in 5 people in China, and that's a very generous, nice estimate. Youth are unemployed, and that's one of the highest unemployment rates in developed countries.
I don't know. My country is like 50% unemployment.
We're not talking about that, are we?
No,
I said developed countries.
No, my country's not even developing. It's not even developing. It's like
undeveloping.
What is the opposite of developing? It'd be like regressing.
Regressing,
maybe.
It's a regressing
or
nation.
Underdeveloping.
Yeah. Anyway,
whatever.
This is a problem. So if you talk to young Chinese people, there was a famous song that came out a little while ago, and it was banned because it was about how I'm a college graduate from a good school, and I shouldn't have to be a delivery driver. Because the reality in China right now is that if you have a very good degree from a good school, there is not a chance in hell you're going to get a good job right out of college anymore.
No.
And it's getting to the point now where people are like, why did I do all this? Why did I do all this? I can't even get a job. The unemployment rate is skyrocketing, and there's nowhere for these very educated, very skilled people to go.
Yeah.
And it's not only resulting in brain drain, these people are obviously leaving to go find greener pastures.
Why do you think there's a 980% increase in Chinese nationals crossing the border illegally?
Yeah.
Not immigration, just illegally coming into America.
Yeah.
Like going into
Ecuador
and making their way through South America and coming over the borders here into America. Well, it's because they need the opportunity. They put their life on the line to get here.
Yeah.
To come in here illegally. That's why. One of the reasons.
So that's a huge issue as well. But anyway, it's a developing thing, and I think that we're going to the fact that the government's not being honest about it, but like addressing, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to solve this problem before it happens. Means that we're going to see some very, very drastic stuff. I mean, look at what happened with the zero COVID policy. That turned into draconian it
was terrible.
Ape shit crazy stuff. It was absolutely insane. And again, it was a knee-jerk reaction. I think we're getting to that level where China's going to knee-jerk react to this, and it's going to be ugly.
Yeah, absolutely we are.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what's going on. China is desperately wanting people to have sex, desperately wanting people to have children, and they're trying to do all these last-minute knee-jerk reactions to achieve that result.
Yep.
But you know what's really dumb about the Chinese government, before we get into this, is that they could stop a demographic problem by allowing immigration.
Yep.
But they won't.
They won't do it.
Because to them, an outsider, a foreigner, is not Chinese and never can be Chinese. I mean, we're a testament to that. I lived in China for 14 years. You lived there for 10 plus years. We couldn't become citizens. We couldn't integrate.
Nope.
Even though we were legal, we're married to locals. Anywhere else in the world, if you're married to a local person for like 10 years or 6 years or 5 years, however long we were married, you have the opportunity to register. Most countries, maybe not North Korea or, you know,
Can't move to North Korea.
Yeah, of course. You know, there's a ton of places you can't for sure, but I'd say most countries, you're given the opportunity to at least be registered like as a permanent resident or something along those lines. No, China doesn't allow that, so that's never going to be an out for them.
No.
Anyway, let's get on to this poor guy. Again, things are getting much worse in China these days. A comedian in China was hit, well, actually his comedy firm or whatever, even though, you know, you do get that kind of thing, I guess like Comedy Central or whatever, you know, like a comedy firm, was hit with a $2.56 million, that's US dollars, fine, because he made an inappropriate joke about the military.
Yeah.
Okay. So on Wednesday, they hit this guy. I mean, it's crazy. He was accused of harming society after a military joke he made drew some public criticism. And it wasn't even a bad joke. It's like an old Chinese trope about, oh, the dogs don't work well together or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And he got cancelled, obviously, by this and got fined this huge amount of money. Now, the important thing about this is it shows you just how bad things have gotten in China recently.
Yeah.
Because a woman who supported him on Chinese social media was arrested.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's this guy. He makes a joke. It's a mild joke. It's not even that bad. But it pisses off some nationalists, you know, like, how dare you make fun of our military? Because he was making fun of soldiers, you know, just saying that they're not very effective type thing.
Sure.
His company gets fined. He gets lambasted. He gets a lot of shit online. This woman's like, hey, you shouldn't be so serious. You know what I mean? Like,
why so serious?
Yeah, why so serious? Like, seriously. Like, so anyway, I'll read a little bit of an excerpt from this over here. I'll put it up here. Okay. So the 34-year-old woman, identified by her last name Shi, was detained on Tuesday evening for posting inappropriate remarks about the military. Police in the northeastern China of Dalian said in a statement Wednesday. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is what she said. She said, the guy's name is House, by the way. House.
Okay.
You know, this comedian. He's a very well-known comedian. By all accounts, a very funny guy. So she said, why should House be banned? Aren't all soldier brothers just dog brothers? That's what she said. Okay. And then she got arrested.
Well.
And I'll tell you why. Okay. Let's go forward a little bit. China enacted a law in 2021 criminalizing insults against the military. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's not good.
So he made a joke. It wasn't even an insult. It was just a joke.
If the military can't take a joke, I don't know. What does that say?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're like, oh, our military's so fat they couldn't, they can only like, I don't know, attack a McDonald's or something.
Right.
So imagine you say that and then you get fined $2.5 million and arrested, and anyone who says that joke was fine online, they get arrested too.
Ouch.
That's what's happening in China.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane, isn't it?
It is.
Anyway, this has had a knock-on effect now, which is kind of a little bit worrying. And I'll show you what it is. Because this happened, a whole bunch of the whole live performance scene in China basically just got a huge bucket of ice water dumped on it overnight. A bunch of like big shows that were supposed to be done, like live shows, comedy shows, any kind of live performance were just canceled out, right? And for instance, here, a Japanese band, which is called, I don't know, Kisakuo, whatever that is, abruptly pulled a show in the southern Chinese city of Guangzhou on Wednesday night. A statement from the band's official Weibo account said the cancellation was ordered by government agencies out of force majeure. I think that's a new word. You know, when
they love force majeure.
You know, when like someone learns a new word and they try to use it.
I do that all the time. But force majeure is definitely the new smear.
It's the new, yeah. Well, it just means things, things out of our control or whatever. Yeah.
They don't want to say God though, because it's an atheist country.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. So they did not immediately reply to a request or comment. So the Chinese government canceled the Japanese band from playing because a Chinese comedian made a joke about the military.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Okay. It's pretty crazy. It said, Vivian Zhang, a professor of government and public administration at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, said the recent events had sent a warning to the entertainment industry that would prompt self-scrutiny. For foreign performers unfamiliar with the domestic situation in China and don't know where the red lines are, it may be a safer strategy, especially on the part of the Chinese companies that invite them, to just cancel the show. I mean, and she's not wrong. It's dangerous. If you don't know, if you make a quip a joke on stage as a comedian, you could actually not only put the company that invited you there in a lot of trouble, you could yourself get into huge amounts of trouble, be arrested, fined, whatever.
Right.
Anyway, now I said this had a knock-on effect because messages have been going around, the little foreign Reddit groups and things like that. And I'll read this one to you quickly. So, for those of you who don't know, live performance in clubs and stuff, it happens in China, like everywhere else.
Yeah.
It's not as common, but it does happen. And I've got friends, for instance, that are in a band. And they get invited to, or they go to the clubs and like, hey, can we play or whatever. And sometimes they get invited. Sometimes there's like open mic nights and they go there. And they used to, like my one friend, is a pretty good guitarist or bassist, and his band used to go very often to different clubs during the week to go and play at night.
Yeah.
But about 2 or 3 years ago, they started this law where they could no longer go and play unless they submitted the lyrics of every song that they wrote to the local
That's
censorship
literally
bureau.
Soviet Union.
Yeah, they have to do this. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do.
So their band would have to submit it because if it's in English, because they'd sing English songs, they'd have to provide an official translation too. Like an actual stamped by the government official translation. They'd have to go to a translation company that's like accredited, okay, of everything. So that the censorship board can approve the songs that they're allowed to sing. So they can't even be spontaneous. Like imagine someone's like, hey, I want a request. Can you play this?
No, we didn't pass the
Sorry, that was not
board.
approved by the censorship board.
That's what the Soviet Union did.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so it's gotten very difficult for foreign live performers in China.
Yes.
First of all, the visa issue, you need to have a performance visa and stuff. It's like, there's all this crap. But
hey, we know people that were deported because of that.
Exactly.
They played some songs on a stage.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of tough, but now it's gotten worse. Take a look at this, okay? So obviously an event organizer here sent a message out, and it says, it is with deep sadness that I must report that bars in Beijing providing music by foreigners have had to cancel the foreigner performers. If there is a foreigner in the band, a foreign musician cannot take the stage. Okay, take to the stage. This policy includes the venue we play at weekly, blah, 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 blah. And so we do not know when it will be resolved, and we will be able to go back and provide our music for you there. So they're just making an announcement here to say that, sorry, we have been told that if there's foreigners in our band, we can't play. No foreigners allowed to get on the stage, And this is in Beijing, the capital city. And this happens in China, this kind of knee-jerk reaction stuff. It can just happen overnight. Well, it always does. It always happens overnight with no warning. There's no way to combat this. The government just says, you know what? We're just not into this whole live performance thing. We had a guy make a joke and embarrass our military. So we fined him. We've banned him. And you know what? Fuck all the foreigners too. Because you know what? They're probably just worse. So no foreigners allowed. That's pretty much how it plays out.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. It's strange how it always shifts to foreigners.
Yeah.
Oh, Japanese.
Every time.
Japanese band? Psh, they're not allowed to play.
Low
Cancel.
birth rates? Foreigners problem.
Yeah, exactly. Chinese comedian insults the military. No more foreigners allowed to play in bands in the stages.
Because he was inspired by foreigners, probably.
Probably.
That'll probably be the...
Anyway, just wanted to point out how absolutely absurd things get in China when it comes to this kind of thing. And how foreigners always end up being at the end of it all. Yep. Anyway, that's the end of Soft Power Hour. We're going to move on to Wu Mao Corner, guys, where we talk about the haters. We got quite an interesting one for you today.
By the way, do you think the lyrics of The Moon were censored?
Oh, I don't know. Let's take a look. I would like to ask though. Do you really want me to? The moon. Okay, are you sure? What about
CPPCC? CPPCC.
Oh, we got some new.
Yeah, would they approve? Would they approve?
They would not.
Okay, of course not.
That's okay. We don't follow their lead.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe we should ask this person.
Unbox.
Anyway, sorry, getting a little...
Some new sound bites. I love it.
I got some more coming for you anyway. Anyway, you were talking about...
Yes.
So we got some interesting stuff for you today. First of all, what we're about to show you is, it's a couple years old now, right?
Yeah, it's just a classic and it's fun.
Yeah. So a lot of propaganda coming out of China that you'll notice is, oh, we've got no homeless people.
Yeah.
And then they show the homeless tents in LA, or they show that Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia with all the drug zombies, and they're like, look at how bad America is.
Shout out to Kensington.
Exactly.
Right around the
Dude,
corner.
by the way, I did a little exercise.
Yes.
I searched
Did you go running down Kensington Ave?
No. I took pictures of it. I went and looked for a picture of Kensington Avenue, and you know the usual drug like zombies.
We could drive through it. Just do GoPro.
And then we should at some point. And then I typed Kensington Avenue nice or something like that. And then there's like a really nice picturesque picture of Kensington Avenue with no drug dealer, obviously from a different angle or from a few years ago,
Across
or maybe
the road.
Whatever. And it's all nice families walking around and stuff. And I'm like, you see how easy it is?
Oh, it's so easy.
All I can do is say this. If you didn't have a free media and being able to just film whatever you want and post it online.
Yeah. We should do an experiment.
Yeah, I could take that nice, lovely picture of Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia, that drug street that is known around the world, and say, this is what downtown Philadelphia looks like.
This is Philadelphia.
Yeah, and show this beautiful picture of like families walking hand in hand on this road. And then I could find the worst picture of China's poverty, drug dealer, homeless people, and say, this is what China looks like everywhere.
Yep.
That's what China does.
I mean, Philly, like, I'll be honest with you, a lot of parts of it are pretty rough, right?
Yeah.
But I could make it look so freaking good. I could
That's what I'm saying.
literally, give me a couple hours. I come back.
Yeah.
I could whip up a 10-minute video real
Dude,
quick, and it could look
super
like
easy.
the nicest city in the entire
Yeah,
world.
like the most
it's amazing.
cultured, amazing place. That's what China does. So please don't believe the propaganda. Anyway, so this is a demonstration of that. So do you want to start out this thread?
So this is on a CCP subreddit.
Yeah, it's called R-Sino, and
Yeah,
it's a pro-Chinese government subreddit.
Yes, and pro
Yeah.
authoritarian country.
Yes.
Anyway, it says,
Tankies.
is homelessness common in China? I imagine the PRC, People's Republic of China, has social programs to combat this. No.
The guy's literally called something communist.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone said, no, it isn't.
It's incredibly rare. That's why Chinese tourists are always shocked by how many homeless people there are in Western cities like Paris or New York.
For Chinese people and anyone influenced by Confucian thought, homelessness is heavily looked down upon, and it is to be prevented as much as possible. It is seen as a sign of mismanaged or failed society.
And then somebody came in,
Falling society.
obviously a follower of the subreddit, because you have to subscribe or whatever, I think. It says, as someone living in China, I have seen a lot of homeless people. Heck, I could probably go outside right now within a few minutes and find 4 or 5. And he went outside, literally walked downstairs from his apartment at night.
Yeah.
And
So
goes,
there you
here
go.
you go. And he actually posted like with a timestamp of a bunch of homeless people living on the side of the road in China.
just-
and then he's
just
like, there's
outside.
some, and there's some, and there's some. It's like 6 or 7 of them here, right?
Yeah.
Within minutes of him posting this.
Absolutely, because China does have a homeless problem, and
Yes.
we've both seen it. I've got lots of video footage of homeless people.
Right. And it's just a thing that happens, right?
It's
Don't
nothing,
pretend it doesn't.
It's nothing to be ashamed of. You will have, downtrodden people in every society. There are failings in every society.
Yep.
And homeless people exist in China, and there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
So this whole idea that China is a utopian place with no homeless people is rubbish.
Yes.
And in fact, China is very invested in this idea that there are no homeless people.
Yes.
So if you go to the big cities,
yeah.
the police round up any homeless people and actually ship them out into the countryside.
Yeah.
In Shenzhen,
But you'll still see them everywhere.
dude, I used to have a contact in the Shenzhen daily newspaper, who obviously had contact with the government, and she actually
it is government.
she told me a few days before the Shenzhen mayor was arrested for corruption that he was about to be arrested for corruption, that kind of thing.
Oh,
so I
yeah,
had like an
nice.
inside thing.
Right.
She told me what the police did in the winter there in Shenzhen is because it actually gets really cold,
Yeah.
which is
not icy.
No, dude, it's freezing. It's like it's
No,
weird. It's not
I
like
get it, dude.
Yeah.
I lived there.
You know, because it's such
It's not snowing. I don't want people to be
no, it's
confused.
not snowing. But it's hot and humid for
Yes.
most of the year. But
Yeah.
then when winter comes in for a couple of months, it's really freaking cold.
Because it's wet.
Yeah, and there's no insulation in any buildings or anything, and it's freaking cold. So what they do is during the like really cold winter things, is the police would offer, or the government would offer, free blankets and food for homeless people kind of program, and they'd go around, hey, you want free blankets and food, and all the homeless people that turned up for that or got on the bus or whatever, they'd get a free blanket and they get food, but then they'd also be put on a bus that would take them like 1,000 miles or whatever, like hundreds and hundreds of kilometers out of the city and just drop them off on the side of the road. And
middle of nowhere.
They got no money and they can't come
food,
back.
No phone.
No, yeah. That's how they used to get rid of the homeless people in Shenzhen.
Yep.
Just so you know.
Anyway, after he posted this, because he was like, what the F, right?
Yeah.
He got banned.
Yeah, he got permanently banned. Yeah.
I got banned from Sino after I said hi. I'm pretty sure I said hi.
Dude, we're their number one enemy.
Yeah.
They hate us.
Which is dumb, because I don't care if they exist or not.
Yeah.
I just, you're not allowed to participate in anything that goes against the narrative that the Chinese government is bad.
I like it. Then note from moderator: Tiananmen Square is vindicated by China's development.
This is allowed on Reddit. Which, okay, freedom of speech, but I see a lot of stuff that is anti-CCP that gets pulled on Reddit. By the way, just an article I was going to use today.
Yeah,
it was gone off of World News. The moderators had removed it. It was critical of the CCP. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's a bit scary what's going on.
Yeah. Anyway,
look what Elon did with Twitter, right?
Yeah, kind of crazy. So here's something I did on Mother's Day. Is I posted this. I said, this Mother's Day, let's not forget about the kidnapped woman chained to a wall in China who was forced to have 8 children and then disappeared by the Chinese government because she was an embarrassment for them. Because she has disappeared.
Yeah. You remember Chain Woman?
Yeah, we talked about her before. We had whole shows dedicated to her. But for all intents and purposes, she's disappeared from public view. No one cares about her anymore. No one talks about her anymore. Within China, you can't talk about her. She has disappeared. Yes. Nobody knows where she went. Very shortly after the whole situation broke out, she disappeared and was never heard from again. Yeah. Okay? The guy who chained her up as a sex slave for however many years and had 8 kids with her and all that other nonsense, he finally got sentenced. He got 8 years, was it?
Yeah.
Like 8 years?
But that was only because it was in the public eye.
Yeah, only because it was in the public eye. But the village is still shut down.
Yep.
People can't go visit to see. So, it's typical, like, sweep it under the rug. Anyone who tries to talk about it, shut them up. Yep. And just, eventually people forget about it type of situation. Yeah. So I was just poking a little bit to raise some awareness. And I have never seen... In the longest time, I have never seen such a violent response to any of my tweets, because I tweet a lot. And most of the time, the Wu Mao know it's pointless to challenge me. They'll challenge me.
Don't give it views.
Yeah, if I go comment on someone else's tweet, they'll attack me there. But on my own tweets, they leave me alone. Not this time. They went ape. They were like, oh, yeah, what about America? Like, why are you talking about China? Why do you hate women from other countries so much? You sexpat, this racist sexpat, all this shit. Like, about
they were losing it.
Yeah,
and
keep
honestly,
on virtue signaling loserston.
Right.
Look at the white supremacists making up shit about China to grift. I'm not making that up.
yeah.
This is a Chinese issue.
Welcome to disinfo, bro. Yeah.
So the whole point is, by the way, that poster that I shared was made by Chinese people who are deeply concerned about this. This is a Chinese woman.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a big problem in China. It affects Chinese people. It's not like, it's weird. Like, how am I making up stuff about China?
You're arguing with the wall.
Yeah,
here.
I'm just saying, like, how am I a white supremacist racist by raising awareness for a problem in China for Chinese people?
For Chinese women.
If I was like, oh, screw every other race, and like, oh, just me and myself and
you're
mine.
Not arguing with anyone.
I know, I'm just saying it makes no sense, but they use all these buzzwords because they think it's going to help. Anyway, I haven't seen such a massive amount of pushback against anything. So it proves that it's an incredibly sensitive topic.
Yeah, you obviously picked a scab they really want covered up now. They did not like when I got super attacked when it first happened, and I did that whole live stream about it. Man, I got attacked. And this is obviously something they're now like, oh, well, it's over now. And then you brought the wound back up.
Guys, keep pushing at this chain woman topic.
Talk about it more.
Okay, talk a lot about it. I mean, it's kind of crazy. For instance, I looked at some of these guys. Okay, so one of the guys who kept, attacking me about this, his name is Peter Dahl. So I went to his Twitter, I clicked on his replies to see, who does he normally reply to? And he only replies to me.
Yep.
Every single one of his replies,
China has made accounts.
Every single one of his posts is only to attack me on Twitter.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
He's not interacted with anyone else. He's not ever posted anything to anyone else. It's only whenever I post, he comes and posts.
Yep.
And this is one of many. I'm not going to bore you with all this Twitter drama, but I went to look through all of them, and that's what I saw. Is that these are people that are literally made to attack me, and especially this chain woman thing set them off big time. So this is a big PSA out there. Remind the world about chain woman. Don't forget about her, because the Chinese government has almost completely successfully swept her under the rug.
Yep.
And that's not acceptable, and it's not okay. It's not okay to have people chained to the wall in the rural countryside where they're abused and used as sex slaves and whatnot. And this is happening in China, and it's not just an isolated case. It does happen.
Yeah.
Human trafficking is a big deal in China, especially now with the shortage of men.
Yep.
Human trafficking from neighboring countries like...
Shortage of women.
Yeah, so shortage of women. I keep saying...
This multiple times now.
Maybe it's because I'm thinking shortage of, like reasonable men. You know what I mean? This is the shit that's being pulled off now with all the trafficking and stuff. But yeah, I do mean shortage of women, obviously.
Yeah.
So they traffic women in from Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, all that kind of stuff, and sell them. And so it's a big deal. And that's the kind of issue that needs to be focused on, guys. So yeah, just a reminder. Anyway, time to move on to World View, where we talk about everything in the world, specifically with regard to China. And how about you kick this one off for us?
China asks embassies to avoid propaganda and apparent reference to pro-Ukrainian displays. So Chinese embassies in, Western and different countries' embassies in China will put up posters or banners or whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. It's their embassy, right? It's their sovereign
territory. It's your sovereign territory. You can do what you want.
So Canada here has a Support Ukraine thing, right?
Yeah.
Support Ukraine were together, signed in Chinese on their embassy in China. And now China's asking people to, these embassies to take them down. Now think about this. China's gone out there on the world stage and said, we protect country sovereignty. So that means you need to leave embassies alone then.
Yes.
Number two, they go out and say that we don't take Russia's side on this thing. We support everyone's side. We want you guys to work this out. Like, the world doesn't need more war. But then they operate on Russia's behalf and tells people sovereign countries to remove posters about Ukraine.
Of course.
So they try so hard to go out there in the press and say we didn't take a side, but they take a side so hard.
It's too difficult for them. They're not sophisticated enough.
No.
The Chinese government is not sophisticated, and they're getting more sophisticated because of their collaboration with Russia. They're learning a lot of tricks from Russia.
Because they're the propaganda masters, right? They've infiltrated the U.S. time and time again.
Yeah, so they're learning a lot, but they're still not sophisticated enough, and they make a lot of blunders. They make their intentions known very clearly a lot.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a big thing in world news. Now, how about this?
I was shocked to see this.
Okay.
A TED Talk popped up on my radar. And a TED Talk about what the world can learn from China's innovation playbook. And it's from Ku Jin.
Yeah, I saw this. People were sharing this around and like...
and so I watched it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Tone deaf now. This was literally Chinese propaganda. On TED. Not TEDx, not the separate one.
Yeah, on TED.
TED.
Yeah.
Official TED. And what's funny is after YouTube got rid of the downvote button, right, being able to see it, you don't know. So I was going through the comments. There was a lot of critical ones. Tons of Chinese people that were like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Right. Just play it for a little bit. I want to show you just a little excerpt comment here. This has got a bunch of upvotes. Chinese woman, right? What are you doing?
No, it just went. You said play it, and it was just quick.
Sorry.
Your slides are too fast.
You always say they're too slow.
Yeah, well, you gotta have a balance.
Okay.
You know?
Anyway, from Alicia Hong says, she's a daughter of a high-ranking government official. Her father, Chinese government official. Her father was a vice minister of finance in China. Her experience and interpretation of China has nothing to do with the 1.4 billion ordinary Chinese people.
Yeah.
Now, there are so many bot accounts, by the way, and this is not being one of them. This is looks like a very organic account, right? Or organic comment. A lot of them are like, good, she's telling China's story well. Like, it's straight out of propaganda playbook, right?
Of course.
But if you look at it, if you download a plugin, it actually will
show you the downvotes.
Show you the downvotes. Look, it's 1 point something K upvotes.
1.6K upvotes. Yeah,
it's more than half.
2.4K downvotes. Yeah,
like double the amount of downvotes. Because people watch this and they're like, "Are you kidding me?" Basically, the TLDR, too lazy didn't read, is this video is like China learned how to steal IP and now makes cheap stuff. So that's the future world model, and you should be happy with that.
I did watch it, and I remember it being just a fluff piece about China's...
offensive.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fluff piece about, China's economy and how great China is and all that sort of thing. And I find it very disingenuous, and I find it incredibly worrying that companies like TED platform Chinese propaganda.
It's Chinese propaganda.
It really is. You've got the daughter of a high-ranking Chinese Communist Party, government official going on there and trying to talk as if it's a personal story, you know, and this is great. And a lot of people take note of TED Talks,
now,
and a lot of really good people do TED Talks too, but they should screen this kind of shit out.
Well, I think it's okay if you're going to take all sides, but I'd like to see an opposing viewpoint. That's what I would like to see.
All right.
No, you can have whatever you want. Like a daughter of a Chinese government official is still a person that can talk.
Sure.
I don't give a shit. She can do whatever she wants.
Maybe forewarned.
Maybe forewarned, maybe a label saying this person is affiliated with the Chinese government.
Yeah, this person's dad is literally the finance minister of the People's Republic of China.
I don't want to. No, I don't want to attribute anyone to their parents what they do. I think that's completely unfair. I think whatever, give her the platform, right? Mm-hmm. But allow and make sure someone is allowed to have an opposing viewpoint. Sure. Platform somebody with a differing viewpoint, because I bet there's a lot of people that would love to go on TED. Mm-hmm. That have a different viewpoint.
Sure.
That would absolutely love to bring out some statistics as to why this is not true and why this is not a sustainable global model for other countries.
Yeah.
And I think there's plenty of us that would love to make a speech like that on TED, but absolutely would never, ever get platformed on TED.
Of course not, yeah.
It pays to have connections, and I just have a feeling deep in my heart that somebody that has favorable opinions of the CCP would get platformed more than someone that doesn't on TED. Well, I just have an opinion.
Just the track record of the people who have been speaking on there kind of proves that.
Sure.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's good
let us on TED. We'd love to talk about it.
Yeah. What's this all about?
This is a thing about. Actually, can we save that? We save that for the other thing.
Yeah, because we've got a bunch of people have been arrested recently, especially here in America. We've got that whole thing with Coca-Cola. We've got an Apple employee. There's a bunch of people that have been recently arrested for stealing secrets, doing industrial espionage and sending them off to China. So IP theft, things like that. So we'll include that in that whole thing. Maybe this is kind of your favorite thing to talk about, so let's do it.
My favorite thing, yeah.
Belt Road.
So you guys know what the Belt and Road Initiative is. It's China giving massive infrastructure loans and projects to developing countries in order to get very, very debt trap laden countries to be beholden to them.
Yeah, and access to minerals and deep water ports and things like that.
Yes. Yeah. China is one of the most unforgiving partners. And this is a problem, is a lot of these countries, whether they're corrupt or they're free countries or whatever, they liked the idea that, hey, this is like a new alternative to America or the Western development funds, right? Mm-hmm. Let's take China's development fund. They're not going to ask too many questions. They're not going to have oversight boards. They'll just send people over and build something, we'll pay them back later.
Yeah.
Well, 12 countries now are in, a lot of them are on the brink of collapse at this point.
Yeah.
They're not able to balance their government funds with the debt to China, right? So being able to pay for education, healthcare, all these things that they need in these countries like Sri Lanka and Pakistan, are able to pay or help their citizens out with domestic programs because they owe China money. And now China's coming knocking. Trying to get that money back.
And they believe the lies. You see, China sells lies. Okay, They sell these lies that we're going to come start these mega projects, like we're going to build a railroad or we're going to build a bridge or schools, and it's going to give a lot of work opportunities, so employment opportunities for the local population. It's really going to help your economy greatly.
Yes.
But when they actually sign it over, China ends up sending all of the laborers over to do the job. Yep. They end up not developing a big sort of workforce of local people because they just bring Chinese people over. So everybody loses.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose.
And the infrastructure that's built is of poor quality and junk.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. Anyway, a good example of this, just keep going.
Yeah.
A good example of this was Sri Lanka, right? Yeah. Who took a massive loan from China.
Yeah.
50% of after they defaulted on China's loan, 50% of the country fell into poverty. 50%, half of the country fell into poverty, and it turned into civil unrest. It was the polar opposite of what China promises.
Yeah.
In volatile countries that need loans for infrastructure projects, they promise stability. Look at the China model. We are stable. Look at our propaganda. We're such a stable country. We'll bring stability to you. And they go, okay, thank God, right?
Finally.
Finally, we don't have to do this slow burning route of democratic voting things in, right? We just can't let China build our shit.
Yeah, exactly.
What happens is China charges high interest rates, right? And makes these countries pay back tons and tons of money that can't afford it, become beholden to them, and end up handing over things like ports, right? And then putting food programs by the wayside in these countries, and people end up starving to death.
Yeah.
So we're in a situation now where countries like Sri Lanka defaults and goes into complete chaos, which is the exact opposite of what China promises. Very, very unforgiving debtor.
Yeah.
Very, very relentless in hounding countries for the debts. And when they default, they have nowhere to go, right? Yeah. It's really, really bad. And that's now 12 countries now that are facing crisis because of this.
Think about it this way. Imagine you go to a car dealership and there's this really flashy sports car.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, I'd love that sports car. And the guy comes up to you, he's like, yeah, well, I'll give you a good deal. I'll put you on a loan. You can pay it off over 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
You can manage it. I'm sure you'll figure it out. So then you take them up on the offer. And then as soon as you drive it out of the dealership, it breaks and it cannot be fixed. It's of such poor quality and it's such a mess. But you've signed the documents and you still have to pay that car off over 20 years. But you don't want it because it's a piece of junk. So then he sends loan sharks in who start to take your parents' furniture and your parents' house away. That's kind of what's happening with this. And so at the end of the day, you didn't even get the sports car that you ruined your life for because it doesn't work. And all you did was ruin your life and the life of everyone around you.
It's kind of exactly what's happening. Yeah. Countries like Pakistan are now going through power outages and stuff. Mm-hmm. These are the nations that are being squeezed into China debt, okay? So they're total foreign debt. A dozen developing nations are most indebted to China, are eating into tax revenue and draining foreign currency reserves to repay loans to the world's largest government lender and reluctant to forgive debt.
Yes.
One reluctant to forgive debt. China doesn't forgive debt, right?
No, it doesn't forgive debt. That's the stupid thing. And I guess a lot of these developing countries are used to, when dealing with the Western world, for a lot of compassionate aid and a lot of compassionate debt forgiveness and things like that. They haven't dealt with China yet.
No, and I think Laos is a great example. Look at this. About 50% of China's Laos's foreign debt is owed to China.
Yeah.
When I went around Laos, right, with my wife, we saw abject poverty. Very, very, very poor. But we also saw villages and schools and roads built by Japan that were donated by the Japanese government and donated from charitable organizations in Japan. These are not things to be paid back, right?
Yeah.
These were things set up for an altruistic means and also diplomatic means, right? Whereas China doesn't do that. China doesn't go and build you stuff for free. They don't say, here's a village, here's our charity. They go, now you owe us twice as much, right?
Yes.
And now you're in a situation where Laos is owned by China.
Yes.
If you go to Laos now, it's owned by China,
Yeah.
right? Look at these other countries. Look at Angola's half owned by China. Their foreign debt's half China now.
Yeah.
Pakistan's way up there, and Pakistan's one that China really needs. China has no allies in this world, right?
Sure.
And Pakistan was the closest thing that they kind of had, and now Pakistan is really, really getting disheartened with this disenfranchised with China asking for their money back at this point because it's plunging the country into chaos.
That's right. Yeah.
You have all these countries: Ecuador, Sri Lanka, Kenya, Ethiopia, Zambia, Mongolia, Uganda, Mozambique, Republic of Congo. Mm-hmm. These countries are so in debt to China that it's manipulating how they live their life.
Yeah.
Right? How their citizens live their day-to-day life. And it's already happening. This is something that's supposed to maybe happen way down the road.
Yeah.
It's already happening now.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's very, very, very unfortunate.
Look at this.
Yeah.
This is the main dam of Neelam Jhelum hydropower project, which is seen in Pakistan. The power plant was built by a Chinese consortium, and it had to be shut down for fear that it could collapse.
Yeah, this is the one that they found all those thousands of cracks in.
Yep.
And I mean, that's what we're talking about here. Yes, we'll build you a dam and it's going to be great because it'll really boost the economy and you'll have power and whatnot. So they come in, but then they don't hire any locals. They bring all the Chinese workers to do it. And then they build some poor quality piece of shit that's just going to break anyway and has to be shut down. So what's the point? Now you owe billions to China for a piece of shit dam that you can't even use.
I mean, if you see the quality of infrastructure projects in China, then you would go running away from it if they came knocking to your country and saying, let us build this for you.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Why?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
This is a seller in Pakistan that's barely keeping the lights on trying to sell stuff because a lot of these...
What the hell is this? What is this disgusting,
that was not
hideous...
supposed to-
This hideous...
That was for Xiaoban Ho.
Yeah, well, maybe we should explain what it is.
That is a frog, and you know sometimes there's frogs consumed. I've eaten frog in China many times.
Yeah, but like you know, we'll pay extra for like a whole cooked frog.
In a soup, yeah.
Yeah.
And this one had a belly full of cockroaches. This was for a different segment. It was not supposed to be in the
Yeah, so
media
this
pack.
frog had eaten a belly full of cockroach. He obviously found like a cockroach nest.
Guys, don't look at this. This is not supposed to be in the show.
Maybe he actually found like a bunch of dead cockroaches that had been poisoned or something, right?
This is a Chad frog.
How do you find so many cockroaches in one place is my question. Because he obviously ate them like very recently.
That's a lot of cockroaches.
Yeah, so he must have come across like, I don't know, a glue trap or something.
He doesn't have that enzyme that tells you when you're full.
Yeah, and he just ate like a boatload of cockroaches. He got caught and cooked and put in a soup.
Yeah.
Cooked whole.
Free vote clip.
Yeah, dude.
You guys, the Xiaoban Hoes, you hoes know about the vote clips.
I'm kind of surprised this made it in here. This is a Shaban Ho type thing. But
Yeah,
this,
no,
is-
I didn't-
This
no,
is
I mean to put that in
hideous. And next to the like child's plate
The
makes it
child's
even
plate
worse.
juxtaposition makes it so much worse.
This is one of
Sorry,
the
guys.
most horrendous things I've ever seen.
Take it up.
Yeah,
By the
okay,
way,
yeah.
if you want to see more stuff like that,
Oh
you-
yeah, just go on
I
over
got
to
a free ad.
patreon.com/ADV podcast and you can join the Shaban Ho tier.
Do you know why that happened?
Why?
Because I had the next media pack for Xiaoban Ho in the same timeline when I exported it.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I did the R,
Yeah.
in and out.
Yeah, I
export, and
gotcha.
There's a picture at the end.
Okay, all
Sorry
right.
about that, guys.
Yeah, you guys sure you don't want to see that again? Wait. I mean, it's not working anymore.
A lot of people probably want to see that.
Okay, well, anyway, it's
That's probably a little better than a belly full of cockroaches from a frog.
that's pretty gross. Anyway,
yeah. Sorry, guys. I did
I
not
think we've pretty much
mean to show
reached
you that.
reached the end of
The child plate.
yeah, the child. It looks like a child plate. Anyway,
So
we can
gross.
still see it. It's up on the screen here. You guys,
Take it away.
You guys can't see it, but I mean,
Take it away. Get it out of there.
are you sure? I think people might want to see it again, just in case.
That's disgusting.
Just in case you hadn't seen it properly yet.
I'm sorry, guys.
That is literally like the seventh
Possible
level of
person.
hell.
It is. That is. And no, like if you went back to a 1400s like book,
Yeah, Dante's Inferno. or
Dante's
something.
Inferno, you go in there, or a different rendition. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
As I approached the fifth level of hell,
Yeah.
I was surrounded by frogs, bellies full of cockroaches, infestation surrounded my ankles. You know what I mean?
It'll be something
It'll
like
be
that.
like the next part of torture.
Yes. Oh man, that's really kind of disgusting.
Um,
Ugh, anyway, it's
possible person, by the
Oh,
way.
wait. We got to get into the Q&A. It's Q&A, guys. It's a yum chat. This is our Q&A section where we answer your questions and you question our answers. And basically what happens is you watch it live. We leave it up over the weekend. All right. And then on Monday, we cut it out of the show. But if you are a patron, any level patron, you can watch the full show whenever you want.
Yes.
Anyway, I get to loosen the time. We get
Sorry,
to relax.
I really apologize, guys. There's a lot of backlash there. By the
On the
way,
frog?
if you like this video, if you like this live stream, please give it a thumbs up because
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it'll help out the algorithm.
Yeah,